I haven't seen Vic in a while. Every other day I could get a quick glimpse of my friend visiting the lunch hall to snag a meal. He would only stay for a minute and he would be gone before I could say a word. I've never known Vic to be a skittish hermit, so his behavior is really starting to worry me. At first I thought it was a hangover, that he just didn't feel well and so didn't linger in the noisy cafeteria of our all-boy boarding school, but he's been acting like this for a week. I'm not the only one who has noticed either. With Vic's loud voice and huge personality gone, the school is emptier, and there's a line of classmates trying to fill the void. Some aren't doing a bad job, but they aren't Vic. After a week of Vic's absence, word got around that I was the last person to hang out with him. I can't go one class without someone pressing me for information. Of course, I didn't offer anything more than, I'm not going to betray my bro like that, sorry. But some guys just don't respect that. Once the rumor that Vic had gotten his butt handed to him in a fight began to spread, though, I knew I had to do something. My dirty white trainer scuffed the ugly black carpet as I searched for my friend's dorm. The hallway seemed to stretch forever, an endless line of plain white doors and white walls on both sides with a large window letting in some muted gray light at the end. After what felt like hours, I reached the window and turned to my right to knock on the door. I pressed my ear to the door and heard a very half-hearted and groggy, "Go away." I had never heard this guy sound so tired and pleading. I was shocked into silence for a moment. I knocked again once I found my voice. "Vic, it's me, N. I want to talk to you. It's been a while." After another quiet pause, my friend's voice issued from the dorm. "Leave me alone. I don't want to talk about the party." I sighed. Of course this all has to be about the party. I hadn't planned to discuss it with him as I saw how upset he'd gotten at the time, but if he had been cooped up in this musty old dorm room for a week because of what he experienced, then I needed to help him out of this. I called back. "Dude, everyone's been asking about you. They think you got beat up or got a drunk tattoo or something. I'm not gonna stop pestering you until you're back to your old self." After another long pause, I heard a disgruntled sigh and finally heard the lock click. I was left speechless when the door creaked open. He was a shell of his former self. His brown, carefully styled hair was unkempt and looked as if it hadn't been washed in a while. His eyes lacked the mischievous glint they usually held and had a haunted quality to them. They almost seemed glazed over. On top of that, he looked like he hadn't slept a wink since that party. His eyes were red and had dark bags beneath them. What got me the most, though, was the fact that he was still wearing the same clothes he had been wearing that Friday night. Vic stared at me blankly and spoke up again with a tired, yet urgent voice. "If you're going to talk, then either make it quick or get in here." His red eyes began to dart to several places behind me and then lingered on the window. I had no idea what to say, but Vic answered for me by yanking me inside and slamming the door, which he immediately locked and bolted. The room almost looked worse than he did. It was dark, the blinds were firmly shut, it reeked of body odor and rotting food, and all of the furniture had been pushed towards the window and the door. It was messy before the party, don't get me wrong, but it almost looked like a squatter had been living there, not my friend. I spoke up. "Dude, what's all this about? You're acting really odd. Why are you all hung up over that girl at the party?" Vic didn't look at me, and I noticed that he was clutching his right hand in an odd way. Before he could stop me, I grabbed his wrist and turned his hand palm up to see what he was hiding. Of course, he tried to fight me, but I was too quick and I saw it. "What the hell is that?" I asked loudly, causing my friend to shush me. The guy was very tense, and I could see that there had to be some reason for hiding that mark on his hand. "Just tell me what's been going on." Vic gritted his big white teeth and whispered harshly, "Shut up and I will! Are you trying to alert the whole building?" I fell silent as he wandered toward the end of his bed to sit. He rocked a bit, and his eyes kept moving from the window to the door, and then to me. "That creature tried to marry me," he whispered, leaving me puzzled. "What? That was it?" His tone was more irritated the next time he spoke. I suppose he saw the look on my face. When we went upstairs, I was expecting the normal stuff. You know, kissing, maybe a little more, but not that. I thought I was getting somewhere, and she stopped me to talk about commitment. I figured I could just lie and never see her again after the party, but that's when it got really bad. Vic's rocking worsened, and he clutched his bruised hand again. I never thought a girl could do anything that would break my friend, but it had to be serious because he looked like a rambling madman. He closed his eyes for a moment, then took a deep breath. I told her I'd stay with her. Then she ripped her own chest open with her bare hands. There were bones and weird blue organs, but one of them was pulsing and beating. It sounded like it was in my head, it was so loud. Then she grabbed my hand and told me to touch her heart. I couldn't move, Anne. She placed my hand on my pulsing lump and it burned my palm. Now she thinks we're bonded for life and she won't leave me alone. I see her everywhere. She's going to get me, I know it. The paranoia started to make sense, but there was no way that anyone, especially not a girl, could rip open their own ribcage with their bare hands and survive for that matter. I kept my mouth shut about that though and asked, "What do you mean you've been seeing her everywhere? She's not allowed inside the school and you've been cooped up in here this whole time." Vic scowled. "She's been peering in through the windows. She knows I'm here. I think she followed us back from the party." I laughed a little. Really? A girl walked 3 miles just to terrorize you for a week for walking out on her? I know there's some crazy people out there, but that's too much. Vic lunged at me and shook me by the shoulders. "Yes, she is crazy and she's been tapping on my walls and my window for days. Do you not understand? That girl is an alien and she'll torment me forever because I lied." In the silence, several images and pieces of conversation flashed through my mind. Wayne's Wayne describing tall, golden insects and being surprised that they were costumes. The gap-toothed girl rambling on about swimming in the sunfire and experiencing breathing and talking for the first time. Trilet's people turning poems into stars that spread their ideas far and wide, and Stella's haunting stare as Vic and I fled the party. Everything clicked into place. A party full of foreigners was full of foreigners from outer space. A cold chill ran down my spine, but I shook it off. "Okay, listen. That was a week ago, and I doubt an alien wants to spend an eternity on Earth anyway. Let's just get you out of this stuffy room and get you back to being yourself," I told him firmly. "The only way you're going to get better is to go to a party and meet some new girls. You have to face this fear." Vic violently shook his head. "I'm not leaving this room. She'll find me, and then I'll be dead meat," he reaffirmed, looking terrified. "Vic, look at yourself. You're not you anymore. You're hiding away from everything because you pissed some girl off at a party. Do you want to hide in here for the rest of your life?" Vic went silent for a while and sighed. "Maybe you're right. I hate living like this, but I know that Stella is hunting me," he replied with a hint of despair in his voice. I just shook my head and put his arm toward the bathroom. "You don't know that. Now come on, get up and take a shower. You'll feel 10 times better." I waited an hour for my friend to clean himself up and get dressed, all while promising to watch for Stella at the door. I didn't see a single black hair from her head while Vic was getting ready, but I knew he probably saw a lot of her because of his fatigue. I pulled a few all-nighters in a row one time, and I saw some weird things too. The doorknob suddenly twisted, followed by Vic stepping out of the bathroom. I let out a small breath I didn't know I had been holding in. He looked like his old self. Tall, cool, charming, everything I'm not. "There, you look better. How do you feel?" Vic rolled his eyes. "I don't feel safe, but at least I don't reek anymore." "That's the spirit," I replied with a snort. "Now come on, we're going to a party and you're gonna get over this." I put my arm around his neck like he had done to me so many times before, and we walked out of the building, ignoring the curious stares of the other students. Soon enough, we found Andrew's usual Friday party. I began to walk up the steps toward the worn-out old house, hearing the usual rock music pulsing through the walls. I felt Vic tense beside me, so I asked him, "Are you ready?" He nodded stiffly, and I knocked on the door. It wasn't long before I passed Andrew at the door with a handsome guy with a grin on his rosy face. We followed the familiar path to his kitchen and poured ourselves some drinks. I made sure that Vic had some before he did anything else because I could tell from the panic in his eyes that he was not happy about being here. After a few drinks, though, he was loosening up and calming down. "Hey, do you see that girl over there with the black hair?" I asked, tapping Vic's shoulder and pointing out a girl who barely resembled my friend's tormentor. I knew it couldn't possibly be Stella. I would have recognized her if it was. Vic followed my finger and nodded slowly. "What about her?" he questioned, a confused expression crossing his face. Why don't you go talk her up? If it all goes well, then you'll get your confidence back and you won't have to hide anymore. I told him with a smile. Just do what you told me to do. Talk to her and listen too. Vic sighed, fixed his hair and his posture, then strode up to the girl. I could tell right away that it was going well. Vic was still charming and the girl was eating it up. She was giggling in no time and the pair walked to the living room to dance. I smiled to myself and drank another soda. The night went by in a blur and I made the most of it. I no longer worried about Vic. I knew that he'd be fine after all of this. I talked to a few girls myself. I might not have made much progress, but at least I got some experience out of it. At around 1 in the morning, Andrew shut off the music and shooed us all out. I spotted Vic among the line of leaving teens, and I could see that he was still with that girl. I called out to him, "Hey, are you coming back to the school or are you going out?" Vic turned back to me and grinned. "I'm going out. I'll see you later." He was drunk, slurring his words, stumbling a little as he walked. But the girl next to him seemed perfectly sober. This struck me as odd, and I watched the pair for a bit as they walked away. Then, my gut tightened, and I froze as the girl stared back at me. There was an infinite depth to her eyes that I recognized, and for a moment I heard a heart beating closely in my ears. When I blinked, they were gone,